Hey there, this is Brittany from Just Be Crafty. Today I'm sharing a tutorial on how to make this crochet ribbed color block cowl. This is a super fun, quick, and mindless project, so I suggest for you to grab a beverage of your choice and to put on your favorite show and get started. This pattern assumes you already know how to chain and make a double crochet. If you need help with making your foundation chain, see the video linked in the description box below. Once you've mastered chaining and double crocheting, you're then ready to tackle this project. The yarn I used for this cowl is from Hobby Lobby, and it's called Yarn Bee Soft and Sleek in the color Rainbow Stripe. This yarn is designed with multiple colors, and because of that, it's great because you don't have to worry about changing colors since the yarn does it for you. But for a complete list of materials along with the written pattern, please see a link to my blog post in the description box below. You'll want to check that out for all the details you'll need to make and finish this project. I want to stop and take the time to invite you to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and to hit the bell so that you can stay notified whenever I post a new tutorial. I really hope that you find this video helpful, and if you do, let me know by giving the video a thumbs up. So with all that out of the way, let's jump into the pattern. To begin, grab your yarn in a 6.5mm hook and start with a slip knot. And we're going to begin with a foundation chain of 27. Now, if you're a complete beginner and you're not sure how to do a slip knot or do your starting foundation chain, I will have a video linked below that shows you exactly how to do that. I love this pattern because you can completely customize it to whatever size you'd like it to be. So if 27 chains seems a little wide or not wide enough, you can add as many chains or have as little chains as you like, and the pattern will still work out. So go ahead and get your foundation chain of 27 started. Alright, so the foundation chain is complete, and we're going to begin our first row by double crocheting into the 4th chain from the hook. And just a note for later, the 3 chains that we skip in the very beginning, those will actually count as a stitch, so we'll be crocheting into that chain in the next row. So to double crochet, as a refresher, you'll begin with a yarn over, insert your hook into the stitch, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. And you're going to just repeat that process all the way across the row. I'm at my last 2 double crochets of row 1. And once we complete our last double crochet, we can go ahead and turn our work. So this row is where the ribbing begins. We're going to be working in the back loop of each of the stitches. To start, you'll chain up 3. And this chain 3 is going to actually count as a stitch. So since it counts as a stitch, we will not go into that first chain, we're going to go into the second stitch. And if you see there's a little V, you're going to go into the back loop of that little V. That's where you'll make your double crochet. So double crochet into the next stitch. And you're just going to continue double crocheting into the back loop of each stitch across the row. So if you like, go ahead and pause here and meet me back up once you get to the end of the row. Okay, so we're at the last couple stitches of our second row. I'm doing a double crochet into that back loop, and now the very last stitch is going to go into the third chain of that starting chain 3. So you might have to kind of maneuver your stitches a little bit just so you can see it. You'll see that that third chain has a V that kind of resembles the rest of your stitches. So go into that back V part of your chain and make your double crochet there. So once you've completed your double crochet, you've finished row 2, and now we're ready to begin row 3. So you'll do the same thing. You're going to start by chaining up 3, and you're going to double crochet into the second stitch since that chain 3 counts as the first one. So double crochet into that back loop. And then just repeat that across the row, making your last double crochet into the third chain of the starting chain 3 from the previous row. Now I'm at the last 2 stitches for row 3, and I just wanted to show you again real quick, just to remind you to go into that third chain of the starting chain 3 from the previous row. So you just go into that chain and double crochet in there. Make sure you're putting your last stitch of the row into that starting chain 3 of the previous row, and that you start each row in the second stitch of each row, because that starting chain 3 counts as its own stitch. As a way to check yourself, if you started with a foundation chain of 27, you should have 25 stitches in each and every single row. If you notice that your scarf is magically getting bigger or smaller, chances are you're either adding a stitch or you've lost a stitch along the way. On this project, I actually noticed that my scarf ended up getting a little bit bigger, and I was like, what the heck? I counted my stitches, and sure enough, I had 26, and apparently did this for about 10 rows before I even noticed. So I had to unravel 10 rows of my work until I got back to a row with 25 stitches. It all worked out in the end, and my scarf turned out great, but it just took a little bit of backtracking. And this is all you need to do. You just double crochet into the back loops of every single stitch in every single row. If you'd like, go ahead and pause here and keep working back and forth in rows until you get to your first color change. There's a couple ways you can handle your color change, and we'll go over that once you get there. I've crocheted all the blue color, and the color is now transitioning into pink. This yarn is a self-striping yarn, meaning every certain yard it changes colors, so the color change will occur automatically, but you can handle the color transition of your scarf in one of 2 ways. Method number 1, just keep crocheting and let the color change occur naturally as I have done, or method number 2, crochet up into the last full row you can make with a color and cut your yarn and begin a new row with a new color. There's no right or wrong here. Chances are all color changes are going to occur mid-row rather than a clean start at the end or the beginning of a row. So the color changes won't look perfect and even. With that said, if that look bothers you, I suggest to go with method number 2 so that way you can control where your color changes occur. I chose to use method 1 and just let the color changes happen naturally, as I like how this ended up looking. And it also means less ends to weave in at the end. Both methods will yield beautiful results. Choose the way that you prefer. After deciding which method you will move forward with, keep working back and forth in rows until you get to the end of your yarn ball. So go ahead, pause here, and meet back up with me, and we'll work on the step of joining in our second yarn ball together. Okay, so at this point I am at just about the end of my first yarn ball, and as you can see I'm ending with the color pink. So I'm just doing the last few couple double crochets that I can fit, and I want to make sure that I am leaving a long enough tail so that way I can weave that in later. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my new yarn ball. And it looks like the first color option that I have is pink. So since I just ended with pink, I think I want to go to the next color. And if I look, it looks like the next color is blue, and I just ended with blue. So I think I don't want to do that either. If I look back at my scarf, I'll see that the color that pops up after pink for me was orange. So I'm going to find the start of orange in my yarn ball. So I'm going to look in the middle. I'm going to pull out the innards of my yarn ball, and sure enough, that color is orange. So I'm going to start with that. We're just going to yarn over with the color from our new yarn ball, and we're going to complete our double crochet. So you're just going to keep working back and forth in rows till you get to the end of your yarn ball. So if you like, go ahead, pause here until you reach the end of your yarn ball and you're ready to sew your cowl together. I've just about reached the end of my second yarn ball, and the last color of my yarn ball was blue, and my starting color was blue, so I'm just going to finish this row as a partial blue row. Turn your work, and now fold your piece in half so that both the starting and finishing edges are butt up together. Line up your stitches the best you can, and you're now just going to chain one, and again line up your stitches, and we're going to slip stitch the ends together across the row to join the scarf together to make a cowl. To slip stitch, insert your hook into both of your lined up stitches, so that'll be the first stitch of the front part of your piece, and then that'll actually be the third chain of the starting edge of your piece. So go into both of those stitches, you'll yarn over, draw up your loop, and then slide that loop under the loop of your hook. And just keep repeating that across the row. And as I'm slip stitching, I'm actually going into the back loop of my ending row and then just going into the full stitch of the starting row. So I've entered my hook into the back loop, and now I'm putting it into the lined up stitch of the starting row and then slip stitching together. So you just repeat that process across the row until you get to the other side. I'm working on my last couple slip stitches of joining my cowl. And now at this point we've completed crocheting. And this is just a peek at what the seam looks like on both the front. That's what it looks like on the front, and then this is what it looks like on the inside. And from here we're just going to cut our tail. And secure. Now that we've completed crocheting and we've joined our piece together to form our cowl, the next step is weaving in our ends. So you're going to take your tail and a yarn needle, and we're just going to work on weaving in our ends as inconspicuously as possible. So to do that, I just take my needle and I'm sliding it through the edge that we just joined together. that seam. So I'm just going to go down about an inch or so, or 2-3 inches maybe. Probably about 2 inches, inch and a half. And then I'm going to work my way back up in the opposite direction. I'd like to go back and forth a few times, as I feel like this really sufficiently weaves in your end and really gets it weaved in and really helps to make sure that it won't come back out. You're going to want to repeat this process for all of your ends. Alright, so at this point I weaved in all my ends, and that is what the inside of the cowl will look like at the seam, and that is what it will look like on the outside. So I hope you enjoyed making this, and I really hope you found the tutorial helpful. If you did, please let me know by giving the video a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to my channel so you never miss a new tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!